Here are the answers to the review in Desmos, starting with question number 1. Which of the following is true of the type of data and the domain of the graph below? So looking at the graph, it's distinct data. It's a discrete data because it's distinct points. So you would list all your x values from least to greatest. The first answer choice, discrete, -3, -4, -3, 0, 2, 3 is the correct answer. Number 2, which equation in standard form has a graph that passes through the point -4, 2 and has a slope of 9/2? So there's two ways you can do this. You can solve for slope-intercept form, and you move your x over, your -9x over, and then you check to make sure that that slope is 9/2, and then you can make sure that that point -4, 2 is on that line, whether you take the equation, graph it in your calculator, or you plug in the point and make sure the equation is true. Or when you look at all of these equations, if you solved for slope-intercept form, all of them are going to have the exact same slope of 9/2. So your next step would just be to substitute in your point -4, 2 into the original equation in standard form and check to make sure which equation comes out true. And that would tell you which that point would lie on that line with the slope of 9/2. Number 3, the graph of the linear function is shown on the grid. Which equation is best represented by this graph? So you want to recognize that this is in point slope form. And so your slope, looking at your graph, is starting at -3, and it's going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the point 7, 2, 7, 2 lies on that line. You want to recognize that this is your y1, and it's the opposite of minus. It's a +2. This is your x1, and this is the x value from the point. Number 4, the total distance in centimeters a toy robot moves varies directly with the time in seconds. The toy robot moves a total distance of 264 centimeters in 11 seconds. What is the time in seconds the toy robot moves? The total distance is 408 centimeters. So this is a direct variation equation. There's two ways you can set this up. You can use your direct variation formula, y equals kx. So first thing you need to do is find k, which is y divided by x. Here you want to recognize, because it says that the total distance varies directly in time, with time. Total distance is your y varies directly with x. So total distance is your y, time is your x. So you would take 264 divided by 11, y divided by x to find k, and then you substitute that back into the equation, y equals 24x. And then from there, you're asked what is the time when the distance is 408. So you'd plug in 408 for y. You solve for x by dividing by 24 on both sides. So 17 equals x, 17 seconds for the time. Or if you can't remember your direct variation equation, you can set up a proportion between the two. So y over x equals y over x. So 264 over 11 equals 408 over x. Cross multiply, so 408 times 11, and divide by 264. You still get x equals 17. Number 5, the graph of a linear function f passes through the point 1, -9, has a slope of -3. There's two ways you can do this. Since you have a graph, I would use your graph, and the one thing you want to recognize is, what is the 0? 0 means x-intercept. So you're going to take your point 1, -9, graph it on your grid, and then you're going to take your slope, -3, and move up 3, left 1. Because I can't move down 3 and right 1, I want to move in the opposite direction so I can find the 0. So I would move up 3, left 1, up 3, left 1, up 3, left 1. Up 3, left 1, up 3, left 1, until you hit the x-axis, and you're going to notice that it's at -2. You could always use slope-intercept form, and once you use slope-intercept form, you have to recognize you're finding the 0, not b, not the y-intercept. So you would be plugging in a 0 for the y and solving for x, or use a graph provided. Number 6, the graph of part of linear function g is shown on the grid. Which inequality best represents the domain? Domain is x, so when I look at the grid, it's going from -9 to 2. At -9, it's an open circle, so it's a less than symbol. At +2, it's a closed circle, so it's a less than or equal to. Number 7, what is the equation in slope-intercept form of the line that passes through the point 5, 0 and is parallel to the line represented by y equals 1.2x plus 3.8? So here, if it's parallel, it's the same slope, so your slope will stay the same as the equation given, 1.2x, that's your m. You're going to use slope-intercept form to plug in this point and solve for b. So you find b to be -6. M is 1.2, so when you write the equation, y equals 1.2x minus 6 is the correct answer. Number 8, what is the equation in slope-intercept form of the line that passes through the point 2, -2 and is perpendicular to the line represented by y equals 2 fifths x plus 2? So here you want to recognize perpendicular means the opposite reciprocal, so you flip your fraction and change the sign. So if the slope is 2 fifths, we're going to flip and change the sign, so it's going to become -5/2. So that's your new slope. If it's going to pass through the point 2, -2, you can plug it into point slope and simplify to find your final answer. If you don't like point slope formula, you can always plug it into slope-intercept form and solve for b. Either way, you're going to get the same exact answer. Y equals -5/2 x plus 3. Number 9, the table shows the amount of pet food in cups remaining in an automatic feeder as a function of the number of meals the feeder has dispensed. Based on the table, which function models the situation? So from here, looking at our table, we would need to find our slope and our y-intercept. So there's 2 ways you can find slope. You can use change in y over change in x, or you can use the slope formula. So the change in my y values is, and over the change in your x values, it can be found by m equals -3. Or after you find your slope, there's 2 ways you can find your y-intercept. You can work backwards on your table to find when x is 0 and what's the y value, or you can use slope-intercept form to plug it into the formula and find b. So either way, you would find that b is equal to 24. So from there, you'd write the equation as f of n equals -3n plus 24. Number 10, which graph best represents -5y equals -6x plus 15? So the one thing you want to recognize is this is an in-between form. You can't automatically look at this and identify the y-intercept is 15 and your slope's -6. You would need to get rid of that -5 in front of the y, divide by -5, divide by -5 throughout each individual term, and it simplifies to y is equal to 6/5 x minus 3. So when you look at this graph, it has an x-intercept at -3, and it's going up 6, right 5. This is the correct answer. Number 11, which value of x makes the equation true? So for parentheses 0.5x minus 3, close parentheses, equals x minus 0.25, parentheses 12 minus 8x, close parentheses. So you want to recognize you're going to take 4 times 0.5, which is 2x, 4 times -3, which is -12, equals, bring down your x, -0.25 times 12 is -3. -0.25 times -8x is going to be a positive 2x. Negative times a negative is a positive. From here, you simplify the right side. I notice I can combine my x values. X plus 2x is 3x. Bring down your -3. Now you can move things across the equal sign. I'm going to go ahead and move my 3x over to the left side, and when you do that, you subtract from both sides, and you get -x equals. You can also move your -12 over to the right side by adding it, so you get -3 plus 12 is a positive 9. From here, you cannot leave the negative in front of the x, so you divide by -1, divide by -1, x equals -9. Number 12, what is the slope of the line that passes represented by, okay, so what is the slope of the line that passes? It's just, what is the slope of 30x plus 15y equals 45? So you need to change this into slope-intercept form. And so when you do that, you're going to find that your slope is -2. You move 30 over, negative 30x, divide each term by positive 15, so your slope is negative 2. Number 13, the table shows a linear relationship between the average height in feet of trees on a tree farm and the number of years since the trees were planted. So what is the rate of change? Rate of change, you need to go back and remember, is the same thing as slope. So you can use your change in y over change in x, or you can use your slope formula to find your final answer. Your answer should be 7, positive 7 feet per year. 14, what is the slope of the line represented by 5x minus 12y equals 24? Again, this is the standard form equation, so you want to change it to slope-intercept form. When you do that, you're going to move your 5x, and it's going to become negative 5x to the right. And then you're going to divide each individual term by negative 12. Negative divided by negative is a positive 5/12 x minus 2. So you're only concerned about that value in front of the x, so 5 over 12 is the slope. Now Mrs. Turner will go ahead and continue with the rest of the review, beginning with question 15.